We're back. Hi guys, welcome to the Captain Viz and Mask Guy show. Hopefully, after all the things that the two of us went through, we can finally get back on some sort of schedule here. At least up until Christmas, anyways. Tonight on the show, we will be discussing a couple things. Most importantly, we will be talking about Marvel's Avengers, the Infinity Wars, and the trailer that's dropping tomorrow. So we'll talk about that in a moment. So sit back, relax, listen to some songs or something like that, anyways, because I'm tongue-tied, and we'll be back in a moment.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Captain Fizz and Mask Guy show. It's been a long time. Unfortunately, I have been pretty much off and on being sick for give or take the last month or so. Definitely not out of the woods yet, but things are looking slightly better. I'm not dying, so to speak.
Not yet.
Not yet, at least. So we'll kind of get into talk a little bit about what I've been doing the last couple of weeks while he, my partner here, does some pre-show media.
I am going off and I'm posting the show on multimedia places. I'm completely out of sync here. This is weird. I mean, we haven't been doing this regularly for I don't know, and so now I'm trying to go off and to do this, and I'm finding it difficult.
Yeah, unfortunately with me, I was suffering from some form of infection that they were unable to determine what it actually was, so I've been pretty much kind of so much, experimenting with medical practices to attempt to beat it. But,
Beat it.
I can't fully say I have beaten it or,
If it's getting cold, reheat it.
Yeah, it's definitely a Weird Al.
Weird Al.
So I'm back. I'm here. I'm fighting through it. Definitely, you might find some times where I'm not speaking as much, just because
this means I actually have to go off and
yeah, it still hurts a lot for me to talk as well as to I have to find more ways to catch my breath. But the last little while, I have been working on a bit of a side project that has actually been very helpful. I've gotten back into photography and stuff, especially black and white, just because
it's black, it's white, it's black.
If you live in Winnipeg, you kind of realize in the winter months that we have a very ugly city. Mostly because, we throw sand on the streets and,
let's just face it, our winters make everything seem really gray.
So I've decided to fight that feeling of, being kind of closed in, of missing the sunshine and stuff with black and white photos. And it's been very, very, helpful. I'll probably be posting some on my Twitter later tonight, just because I really kind of like how these photos have turned out. And this is nothing more than just with an Android phone. But the best part would be today where I was walking over a bridge and I was frozen because, cold weather rises. Contrary to popular beliefs, the cold does in fact rise. So I was on top of this bridge trying to get the most perfect shot, so to speak. And I think I really kind of caught it, of the sunset kind of going over the railroad tracks on top of a bridge and whatnot. So to me, it's like it was a really perfect shot of, this perfect feel-good moment where no matter what happens next, you had that moment where you feel good. So this has been kind of my healing process of taking these photos and definitely, enjoying the moments that go with it, because obviously, no one ever knows what the next moment entitles, and when you are suffering from some sort of infection that no one knows what it is for a month, you tend to kind of enter some dark places, which is unfortunately where I've been the last little while, which has made doing this show as well as pretty much day-to-day life very, very difficult. So I'm definitely glad to be back. It kind of eases my mind a bit, and I really hope I can start feeling healthier, because this kind of sucks. And welcome, Lazy Nerd. I'm glad you've been listening to our episodes, even though we have been AWOL as of lately, and I think you've been sick as well, so you definitely fully understand what we've been going through. So I'm glad to be back. But that's been kind of my little project, is getting into these photography, and I've really enjoyed it, because just, it's huge. And thank you, Lazy Nerd. You actually kind of set up our next topic, because I think we are done with our social media.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sweet Daddy D went off and was messaging me, but I don't even know what he's talking about, so I'll have to, message him back later.
As Lazy Nerd just said here in the chat, tomorrow, the first Infinity War trailer will in fact be released, and
it's going to be, I don't want to say it's Good Morning America, it's ABC's version of that, the Today Show or something like that. I can't remember what it's called.
I have a funny feeling that at some point tomorrow morning I will be stopping the machine and watching the trailer, because I'm actually, I can't say I'm excited about this. I'm really, really nervous.
This is going to be pretty huge. This is what they have been working towards ever since Iron Man was brought out with Robert Downey Jr. over a decade ago. And you mean that they've gradually started to walking towards and a slow pace, we're introducing all these heroes, introducing all these villains. I mean, we literally went from one end of the galaxy and back.
And see, over the years, I have grumbled about how they've done this, where, I feel at some points it was going too slow, some points it was going too fast. But it ultimately has been the kind of the perfect crawl, so to speak, to the Infinity Wars. Except for my biggest part is I don't understand why it's taken so long for Thanos to stand up.
Well, the thing is, they want to keep Thanos as mysterious as possible. I mean, of course, Thanos first appeared in the original, Avengers movie, where the group was originally put together. I remember almost wetting myself when I saw him at the very end of it, like, oh my god, that's Thanos!
He's been the ultimate tease.
And he is. I mean, since then, he's only made one appearance, and that was a couple of brief scenes in Guardians of the Galaxy. He wasn't even in the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 that came out earlier this year. And so they're keeping him very hidden. Oh no, I'm sorry. No,
I do believe he made an appearance on another one, so to speak. Maybe not so much physically, but more his voice definitely has been.
I'm trying to remember, because there's a scene where we actually see him pulling out the gauntlet, and I don't believe that was that might have been in Guardians of the Galaxy. If someone who's been watching these movies more recently than I have, feel free, especially with Lazy Nerd and Weem and Amy, who are in our chat. And by the way, folks, I encourage you, check us out on Spreaker, join in the conversation. Fortunately, due to the limitations of Spreaker, we had to go off and delete one of our older episodes. That's sadly, I mean, it is what it is. It's one of the limitations to Spreaker, but I mean, Spreaker has allowed us to do many other things, so we are grateful for what they have allowed us to do over the years.
Yes, don't bite the hand that feeds you.
No kidding. So yeah, if you guys know which movie I'm talking about, there's a scene where Thanos is furious. It says, well, he's going to have to do it himself. I believe that might have actually been at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy.
I believe it was, because they were also showing clips of the Collector, if I'm not mistaken, but Anyways, he has been showcased, multiple times throughout this entire journey. Now, if anyone remembers how I felt about, say, we'll go with the DC universe.
Oh, God, do we have to talk about the DC universe?
The biggest issue with Batman v Superman was how crowded it was. And see, that's why I'm nervous about the trailer being dropped tomorrow for, Infinity Wars, because they're pretty much announcing that this is going to have the most characters in it. And my biggest fear is that this movie will be overcrowded.
Well, I don't have the same fear. My biggest thing about Batman versus Superman is they tried to cram too much into it. They went off in trying to cram... I mean, that the whole scene where they go off and, I understand where they were going when Bruce sees sees the videos of Aquaman, Flash, and a Cyborg, but it really felt like there was a lot of stuff that they could have just cut away from. It really, to be honest, they could have went off and they could have taken that movie and they could have cut it in half, gave it a little bit more depth, and it would have been better. I could almost, think I would have preferred if they had built up the storyline with Batman and Superman, where, we get to the end of the first movie, and then Batman decides he has to do something about Superman, and then have done a separate movie on that. It probably would have worked better. I haven't seen the Justice League movie that recently came out. I have not heard good things for it, and by the sounds of it, Warner Brothers is really in trouble because it's just not getting over the way they were hoping to. Which is kind of bad. I'm gonna have to sit down and try to see it myself.
I did not see it myself. I actually chose to go see Thor Ragnarok instead, which honestly, I definitely recommend going to see the movie because it clues in for people of so many questions that people have had, like where the Hulk has been, where
exactly, where has Hulk been since Avengers 2,
and all these different things, and how does Thor become this multi-god, so to speak. So there's so many questions that Thor Ragnarok actually answered leading up to Infinity War. So I feel that was perfect. My biggest concern is, okay, yes, they've done all these multi-stories leading up to Infinity Wars, explaining characters. They've done multi movies for each character. But there's other characters that they're, introducing, that really kind of could be too much. Like, the rumor is right now, and we haven't been able to see anything confirming whether or not this is true, is that Captain Marvel will actually make her first appearance.
See,
in Infinity Wars.
And, thinking about this, at first I thought, this would be kind of cool, but considering that all the heroes that are going to be in here, I mean, we're going to see all the Guardians of the Galaxy. We're going to go, that have been introduced. We're going to see, all the, the Guardians of the Galaxy and the Avengers be packed in there. And, of course, I mean, we're probably going to see Doctor Strange in there as well. I mean, we would assume, from what I understand, Wasp will not be in this movie. They're saving her for the Ant-Man Wasp sequel that they're planning to do in a year or two. And so, but I mean, even then, I mean, we're talking about like 20 heroes at least.
I think whether or not they were joking or not, they were actually saying up to 32 characters in one scene.
And I can see that. There is, considering all the supporting characters we're talking about, I mean, that may not just be including the heroes themselves. That could include, like people like Pepper Potts. That's like, I'm feeling tongue-tied here.
Who was rumored to actually, the actress who played her was rumored to be seen on set.
Gwyneth Paltrow, who they went off and who was brought back for Spider-Man Homecoming. It was a bit of a shocker because no one knew that, because last time anyone heard, she and Tony had broken up and everything. So this, spoilers if you haven't went up and saw a movie that came out like last year, but it was great. I'm not really sure because we've got a bunch of dead air going on here.
The other thing is that, of course, Samuel L. Jackson character